have our first public hearing for the FY27 budget review with the Finance Committee. So thank you for everyone attending, both in person and in Zoom. We do have two attendees from the Finance Committee that are joining us remotely, so we will be voting by roll call. But this is a public hearing, so I would take a motion.
I move that we open the public hearing.
Should we do roll call first?
Oh, that's right, you haven't.
We're here.
Said who
Roll
people-
call.
Yes, absolutely. We can do roll call.
I withdraw
first.
my motion.
Yeah, please withdraw your motion. I was trying to two birds, one stone it,
Yep.
but you're absolutely right. All right, so let's start online. Mark,
Here.
Angelina,
Here.
Greg,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
Kyle,
Here.
Samir,
Here.
and Victoria is here. All right, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second, so we will do a roll call once more. Mark,
Yes.
Angelina,
Yes.
Dan,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Samir,
Aye.
Victoria's aye. That motion passes unanimously. Public hearing is open.
And Heather is here.
Oh, fantastic. And Heather has arrived as well. We might also perhaps have Skip arrive at some point, but I think he is in transit, so we'll just keep an eye out for him. Okay, fantastic. So the first item that we will go through is have Evan walk us through the FY 2027 operating and capital budget. Just to kind of set the stage a little bit before I pass it over to Evan. This is our first public hearing. So what's really important about this evening is it is your opportunity as the public to ask questions, to be engaged, to be involved. We will absolutely have time for public comment, and we'll save space and call for that towards the end of Evan's budget presentation. The way that this process will go is after this evening, when Evan presents us each departmental line, the Finance Committee will then delegate members or groups of members to go and speak to each of the department heads individually, one by one. So any questions that we might have that Evan cannot answer or that are better answered by those department heads, we'll all have the opportunity to have those one-on-one conversations, ask them questions, understand their budgets line by line, and then we will have a continuation of the public hearing, usually around my birthday, around March 10th. We'll do our Super Saturday, which is one of my favorite days of the year, where we will bring every one of those department heads in here bright and early, and they will have the opportunity in a public hearing to also review those budgets line by line, answer any questions. But again, that will be after we've all had the opportunity to speak with them. So that's always a really, really fun activity that I invite everyone to as well. And Jay's always involved in that too. He's part of that. But we won't get too much into school tonight as we have just Evan here. So that's also
Just
expectation. My favorite Evan, just expectation setting there on the school side. Okay, and with that, Evan, please
All right,
take it away.
thank you. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen quick here, and we will. Okay, so we've already seen a lot of this because I've presented to you already, and I've presented to the select board as well. So the opening slides remain pretty much unchanged. This is going to be a 3-second delay, I keep forgetting. So our three main budget priorities remained for this year: to continue to create a competitive work environment, continue to provide the services that residents want, and continue to fund the Grafton Public Schools competitively. Obviously, we're talking about being in a deficit situation, so those things are done to the best of our ability with the funds that we have. Grafton is about 23% higher on the state average for median income per household. And our average house is just below the Massachusetts average with our average value being $625,000. That said, our average tax bill is a little bit higher, about $1,000 higher than on average in Massachusetts. Our official statement continues to have that AA stable. We will be looking to have another bond rating probably sometime in the summer as we look to go out to bond again. OPEB, we continue to trend in the right direction there. And I believe I talked about this last time we met. We were able to, through a funding mechanism and a policy change, reduce our OPEB liability by $20 million heading into this fiscal year. Stabilization, our municipal stabilization account is just shy of $5.2 million. Free cash was certified at 6.8, but we did use some of those funds to offset some costs in the fall, and so what is available is 5.6 million. We'll talk about this when we get closer to the capital plan, when we get to the capital plan component, but we do try to use around a third or less of our available free cash, as that is best practice. Our capital stabilization account is $957,898, and those reserves make up about 14% of our operational budget, which is in line with our fiscal financial management policy. This is just a graph that shows that our continued growth is predominantly residential, although in heading into 2026, we did pick up some commercial and some industrial. These are our forecasted revenues. So you can see that we forecast that we're going to grow by about 3.5 to 3.4, 3.5%. When you get out to fiscal 31 and 32, you see a drop. I don't think that's a real drop. I think that's a drop that's more indicative of it being hard to figure out what your revenues are going to be 4 and 5 years out. So I would anticipate we're not. I just wanted to make sure people know that we're not signaling that we're going to fall off a cliff at that point. It's just gets more and more uncertain the farther away that you go.
So the state aid cherry sheet, is that based on historical increases year to year?
What we have in here?
The forecast in here?
Yes, correct.
So those are our forecasts, not the state?
That's our forecast.
Okay.
Correct.
So it's showing just over $1 million increase over the next 5 years, with a $13 million increase in our property taxes. Not nice.
Correct. Okay. Moving on. So this is our forecast. I've already shown FinCom this forecast and the school committee and the select board, so we won't dive too far into it. However, I do want to note the 1.428800 number. That's going to be our consistent forecast that we're going to continue to show. That forecast is, that number of fiscal 27 is already different. It's going to continue to be different. And once we get through town meeting, we will update the forecast again to then try to, forecast out the next 5 years. But I do want to note, like, we're not going to change that every meeting.
Yeah.
Because I think we're just chasing our tails a little bit on that.
Assuming if there's any major meaningful changes that'll come through at that point.
If we found $1 million, we would update that immediately.
Yeah. If there's like a change from the.
But
state fund.
$100,000 here or there
Yep.
isn't going to change the end result enough that we're gonna
Makes sense.
continue to do that. And lastly, I like to leave it the same because if you're not following municipal finance, it's hard to understand
Yep.
these things.
Why the
So
number keeps changing.
just keep it stable would be better.
Makes sense.
So you can see we are anticipating our Prop 2.5 growth is just shy of 1.4 million. And our new growth we have pegged at $1 million. It's the highest we've ever budgeted our new growth. But we have been consistently over $1 million, as you can see by this next slide. Fiscal 25 and fiscal 26 were both in the neighborhood of 1.2 million. And we're going to hopefully be on track in fiscal 27 to be over $1 million as well.
So is that significantly affected by the construction of the UPS facility?
No. Well, so yes and no. We did not count on that in our $1 million is what,
Okay.
what I'm trying to get to. We do not count growth before that growth happens.
Okay. I wasn't sure how far along it was
Yep.
in the process. So.
No, so, and they also have the, a TIF that gives them 100% exemption in year one. So
Yep.
it does give us a little bit of a buffer as we're trying to develop new growth. So anything large like that, we won't project into our growth. We can't control any of the process. So
Okay.
we won't do that.
So my understanding was that affects their costs, not our whether we can realize that growth. Is that
That is not my understanding.
okay? That may have just very well been my misunderstanding.
No, I've heard that before. I don't believe that that's how that works. I've never budgeted that way, and my conversations with the assessor and finance director, that's not our understanding.
Okay.
But since it's a year out, we'll know a year in advance. Like they'll say, okay, this is like the first year with 100%. You know.
I would rather us get a partial tax payment in a year that we did not plan for
Yep.
than
Yep.
for us to plan for it and not get it,
Makes sense.
right? Okay. Moving on. I don't think we need to go category by category. This is available on the website. And these numbers are relatively unchanged with the exception of we do have our chapter 70. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And we did get our assessments. So all told, Town of Grafton is looking at a total revenue of $84,177,602. Sorry, Mary is texting me. No growth is hit for UPS yet, so I was on the right page.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes. All right. This is the original budget slide that I showed last time we met, and I wanted to leave this in here so that we have some perspective. Since that presentation, we did get our cherry sheet. Our revenue is up, but so are our assessments. And so we budgeted accurately for our increase that we could see from the state. We pegged that pretty well. We did not peg the change that we were going to see in assessments as well. So we saw big increases in net school spending and charter school as well as special ed. Those were the kind of three big hits. So once you factor those in, that increases our deficit to 1.554. So it's about $125,000 to the red.
Mark, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, if I can ask on the assessments, I know you mentioned the charter school and that. How much is the Central Mass Mosquito Control Project on the assessments?
I believe it's 90,000. I can.
Is there a thought of putting an article on the warrant to withdraw from that?
Yes, that is something that we're looking at currently.
And
Okay, thank you.
The letter came in at like 86.
Yeah, I think we.
It's very close.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that is on the table. So, as it sits, total revenue, 84,177. As I just said, total expense. We're going to talk about the reductions in a second. Total expenses right now are $84,135,009, which leaves us a surplus of $42,593. General government is actually shrunk. Let me stop and back up 1 second. These numbers I'm going to show you now are already inclusive of the reductions that I'm proposing to get us to a balanced budget. General government, it will decrease by a little less than 0.5%. Public safety is still on track to grow a little bit. They're going to grow to the tune of 2.59%. Public works has decreased by 30.93%. Keep in mind that's where sanitation lives. And so since we created an enterprise fund, that's going to skew that number dramatically. Without that reduction, public works grows by about 2%. So health and human services on track to grow 3.4. Culture and recreation, that's a decrease of 3.78. We're going to talk about that decrease in a second. Schools 4.09. BVT continues to be at 10%. We don't have that number yet. And as soon as we have a solid figure, we will plug that in. But again, probably better to be to the higher side. It's not a huge sum of money at between 10 and 8% or 5%. So we're going to leave it where it is for now. Our unclassifieds, which is where our health insurance lives, is up 8.6%. And our debt service will go up by 3.82%. So all told, this budget, as it is presented, is an increase of 2.78%.
I had a question on the public works.
Sure.
Did we not take the trash out of that for 26?
We did not.
Okay.
Because the enterprise fund is established for 1 year before so we budgeted for it in 26 as normal.
Okay.
And then
I
shift it.
had to remember that we put the 600,000 in the enterprise fund to close out of free cash to take it out of the budget.
We didn't stick it into enterprise fund. We just appropriated it to cover operational costs.
Okay.
Mary's having trouble with her microphone, so we'll see if I get a text in
Okay.
30 seconds that I'm not correct. But no, that's my recollection of it. So, this is just a drill down on kind of our environmental increases. So you can see that our retirement and pension is up by 9.72%. It's about $350,000 increase. Health insurance is $682,000 at a 10% increase. While it's still an increase, I do want to just continue to remind people that if we had stayed in the Mass Strategic Health Group, our assessment was somewhere in the neighborhood of 18% increase. So while it is still an increase, it is a savings over where we thought we would be.
And it's good to call that out because we had someone ask in the last day, when did we last look at healthcare? So
Yep.
we looked at it this year.
This year.
Right.
Yeah.
Every day of my life. That's what I look at. And then, so overall, just in these kind of uncontrolled increases, we're at about a 9% impact to the budget. So 1.2 million of that increase is all lives in these buckets right here. So service reductions and operational changes. In order to balance this budget, we have to make some hard choices, and these are the choices that we've made. So we would look to reduce the or eliminate the position of planning conservation admin. We would look to eliminate the position of part-time building inspector. Just for your edification, in that office we have 2 full-time inspectors and 1 part-time inspector. We would look to remove Silver Lake from the operational budget. That's $104,000 savings. I did get more correspondence from the rec commission. They are looking at ways to continue to utilize the beach and keep the beach open. I did mean to delete my impact statement there, but I did not. So that may not be entirely accurate. It might not wind up being closed or swim at your own risk. They may have limited options to pursue. So we're going to flesh that out a little bit in the coming days. Library, we asked them for a $75,000 reduction. The proposed reductions that I saw from the director are all expense related. And so we're going to continue to move forward with what her recommendations are. The assistant engineer position would be eliminated.
What is the assistant engineer position?
So the assistant engineer is a oversight position, essentially. They manage all the Chapter 90 projects. They, the term is bird dog, but they watch all of the paving projects over the summer, give input on those, ensure that what we're paying for is what's being done. They're essentially a project manager, and the assistant engineer title is kind of a carryover from when we used to have an engineering department that was fully staffed with an engineer and an assistant engineer.
So this is separate from DPW. This is under.
So they're under Paul Knoyer's oversight, and they do work with DPW. Their office is in DPW, but they are not a frontline DPW staff.
Okay.
And so they're not driving a plow truck. They're not doing those things. So the select board had asked me to not make any cuts in the DPW realm. I did follow up with a number of them, and their intent is we need the people on the street plowing and doing those things. So not those folks, but they understood that, I have to find cuts somewhere. So, we would move the MS4 program into capital. We've done this in the past to certain degrees. This would remove that in its entirety into the capital plan. Probably not a best practice because it is recurring, but I think the risk is substantially low enough that we have to do what we have to do to get to a balanced budget. And lastly, we eliminated the select board stipend as they requested me to do. So that is a reduction of $524,923. Now, just to qualify this a little bit further, this chart is different than the chart I used on Tuesday because this does not include the reduction of one requested fire position. So the fire chief asked for 2 positions. We reduced it to 1 position that he's going to grow by. I left it in I put it in the presentation on Tuesday because the last time I presented to the board, it was included in that budget. So, increases in requests are not cuts if you eliminate them, but that's how I chose to demonstrate that to the select board. So in the overarching scheme of things, it is not included here because it was not an actual position.
So it's a reduction to the proposed budget, but not a reduction of current services.
Correct. Thank you.
Yep.
That's a much more eloquent way to say that than I just did. These changes are also in addition to the reduction that we've asked from the school department, which is $1,061,000, which results in a reduction of 14 full-time employees.
Question on the assistant engineer role and the other part-time, probably not the part-time, but the planning conservation admin. The cost there, is that like a fully loaded cost, like salary, benefits, all of that?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Sorry, got sidetracked thinking about something else for a second. All right. So, enhancements and additions. Again, the town is looking to add 1 full-time employee at the Grafton Fire Department, and the superintendent has talked about restoring 1 full-time equivalent human resource position.
And that was one thing we talked about last year was going to be a one-time
Yep.
for 1 fiscal year reduction
Yes.
because just can't handle it.
Yeah, that was not a surprise as part of his presentation on the budget. Okay. I'm going to move on to capital quick, and then we'll go back around to questions. Okay. So capital, we're looking to spend. I don't know if this is not like a sales pitch, but this is the most we've ever spent on capital. We've done very well on free cash. We do have a pretty good amount of money to spend, and we do have a lot of backlogged projects. So one of the things you'll notice as we go through this plan is that there are a whole bunch of projects relating to the fire department. We have very old infrastructure as well as a newer Station 1 that is from 2009, so it's not as new as it seems, and that also needs some maintenance. There's a lot of deferred maintenance I think that we're finding in the fire department, and with a newer full-time chief, he's trying to knock a lot of that out. So you'll see that as we go here. Of that $2.9 million that we're looking to spend, $940,000 of it comes from capital stabilization, and the remainder, just shy of $2 million, is from free cash.
Before you go on, since I know this question is going to, people have had this question, we're spending more out of free cash than our deficit. Why can't we use that to?
Right. So free cash is used for one-time expenses, and it cannot be used for operational expenses. And that's kind of the crux of the whole thing. It would be a lot easier if we could. All right.
And that's a state requirement.
That's a state requirement, correct. All right. Our capital plan. We have 2 requests in here for the Conservation Commission. Both of them deal with invasives. And so one, the $74,000 continues our treatment of invasives at Fisherville Pond and Lake Ripple. And the other one is terrestrial invasives. So invasives in the woods. We are trying to do a larger or an increase in that program because we do have a lot of knotweed and bittersweet that take over a lot of our recreation areas and roadsides. And we do this $74,000 for Lake Ripple and Fisherville Pond follows on to a program that we are starting this summer that we are funding through a grant and an earmark. So this continues that work. Just a fun fact, it takes 12 years to eliminate water chestnuts because their seeds can lay dormant for up to 12 years, so you have to continue to treat. Engineering, we already talked about this. This is the MS4 stormwater compliance, although it's showing up on here at 125, so I've got to fix that issue. Greg, I saw you give me the side eye, Greg. I caught it.
I wasn't sure if I was remembering wrong.
No, it's
or...
it's 150.
Okay.
So I don't know why it reported over that way, but we will fix that. The fire department has, like I said, a whole bunch of things in here. Fire prevention vehicle at $80,000. That is a vehicle that would be used by the new employee that we would be adding. It is a response vehicle, and it is also for inspections and all the other things that the fire department is doing. We need to upgrade the electrical service at Station 2. Station 3 needs a remodeling of the second floor. So there is a break room / like muster room over next to one of the bays. It was straight out of your grandma's 1990s living room. And it had a substantial crack in the wall. So we had to gut the entire room and fix that crack.
Is this separate from the 100,000 for the upgrade and the reserve fund transfer?
Correct.
That we
Yeah,
did?
yeah. And we will. There's another component to this funding in Station 3 a little bit farther down the list.
Okay.
So Station 2 and 3, they're looking to epoxy the apparatus bay floors. We have that in Station 1. We don't have it in 2 and 3. Station 3 has a very interesting roof issue. So they have a wooden roof built on top of the original roof, which it is not structurally rated for. And it has caused a whole bunch of issues with that building, including the large crack that I was just talking about, some other separations in the building. So we need to replace the entire roof on that building, and that comes in at about $221,000. If you look at the building now, it has a peaked roof. That was the roof that was added. It was originally a flat roof, and so we would be going back to a flat roof, but instead of tar and stone, it's a membrane roof that would be replacing it. So, interesting architecture there, all built on top of the original architecture. Station 1, which is the newest station we have, there's an asphalt shingle section to that building that needs to be replaced at $50,000. And then we have Engine 1. It's called a lease payment because that's what the program calls it. It's really us paying our bond anticipation note. So $200,000 there.
Is that's one of the newer ones, or is that one?
Yes.
So we have actually received.
Yes, we have that. We have that truck. The highway department, we're looking to replace a loader. Loaders have gone up exponentially. They're about $350,000. This machine carries an extra $45,000 because we would be putting a plow and a wing plow on it. In the past we've had wing plows. We don't have one currently. We're finding that it would be great to have a wing plow, and that would help quite a bit with what we're dealing with. Even on the smaller snows, it's just faster. And then we need to replace a 1-ton dump truck. They are $150,000 all told with the plow and everything else. Police department, we continue to fund our taser program. We are part of a regional collaborative with the town of Westboro to purchase a mobile command vehicle. So that's a vehicle that could be deployed to any of the surrounding communities that has communications and all kinds of other technology for them to set up on site. And our share of that is $50,000.
How much is Westboro's share?
I think 300 and something. So we're doing okay on that
Share.
scale.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's similar to the one that usually shows up at National Night Out.
So
Yeah,
we have a trailer currently that's a
Mhm.
command center, but it is 20 years old, right? So the technology has fallen off.
I think it's a state.
Well, the
or a-
Mima one that
yeah.
comes, yeah, theirs is fancier. This is
Okay.
like a Sprinter van
Okay.
that has the stuff in it. Theirs is like a bus.
Yes.
You know. Yeah.
So not as big scale.
No.
That's good.
No. Yeah. Although now that you say it. All right. Police. Well, that says vehicles. So
Vehicles.
we'll correct that. This is our 2 cruiser replacements that we see every year. There are 2 requests from Grafton Public Schools. One is a blanket, kind of $250,000 for general roof repairs as they continue to chase and modernize their roofs. And then they need to replace the turf field at Grafton High School, and that is about $750,000. Lastly is my request for continued OPEB funding at $310,500 for a total of $2,931,400.
The specific roof, has that been identified for GPS, or is that
That
setting
is-
aside that funding for whoever needs it most?
I'll defer that to the superintendent when he comes, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Absolutely.
The OPEB funding, what does that get us kind of in the context of the whole?
A drop in the bucket.
Okay. This is,
So
we're
this-
doing like the
this is
drop in
why-
the bucket
right.
for a few years and
For
then
Many.
till 2050.
Right, it's,
a few. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, what this 310,000 does, and this will be going up incrementally as a transfer. So last year it was 300,000. This year it's 310. What this gets us is that $20 million buy down of our liability, because we are consistently funding the program, and the program will grow over time. It has compounding interest and all the rest of it. So in order to keep our liability low, our policy has to dictate what we're going to spend, and this is essentially the minimum contribution we can do at this time to follow that plan.
Okay.
It's not as fun as other $300,000 spendings, but it'll pay off in 2050.
and ultimately, we are seeing a massive savings over.
Correct. Yeah,
those.
it's $20 million less than the taxpayers will spend over the next 20 years,
Right.
which is pretty huge.
It's absolutely worth adding that into OPEB.
I agree. And then the other thing that I don't think a lot of folks understand is that once you've fully funded your OPEB liability, and that's after we've fully funded our pension system as well. So that recoups all of that money that you would be paying annually into those programs back into your operational budget. So it's money that I won't see, I don't think,
Right.
but
The residents of
maybe some of
2050,
you will
thank
still be
you.
on.
Thank
Yeah. And that's it for my.
For the multiple roof projects, is the plan to go out and bid those together so that we can potentially find some savings through the
You mean between schools and town?
and fire?
Maybe.
Okay.
It all depends on timing.
Yeah.
So we generally do like to do that, but it's not always possible. So,
Yep.
yeah, as a best practice, absolutely. But okay. Any other questions for now?
I do want to go back to Mark's question about the potential to remove Grafton from the central Massachusetts mosquito situation, because I had the same thought when that email crossed my inbox, right? That is $86,000 is a position, right?
Right.
That is something that we would have to go to town meeting to withdraw ourselves from, and would not be able to recoup that until the following fiscal year.
Top of
Evan?
mind. Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, if you go to this town meeting and remove it, it will come off of FY 27's assessments. So you'd have to do it at the spring town meeting, and then you will not get hit with that on your cherry sheet
Yep.
this year, and you'd be able to spend that money at town meeting.
There you go.
Remind me, is that a or opt in or opt out program?
I
know
gotta be honest with you. I didn't.
I've gone through it, Evan. I've gone through it in
Okay.
Groton a few
I
times.
really haven't. I just managed. The
I can tell you, and I can tell you from experience, you have to opt in and you can also opt out.
Okay.
So it's per fiscal year. So if you opt out at the Springtown meeting, it's off of the FY27 assessment from the state. And also, if there's a huge outbreak of triple E, the state automatically comes in and sprays the town. If there's a triple E outbreak or West Nile virus outbreak in the community, they will come in and they will do it regardless of whether or not you're part of the Central Mass Mosquito Control Project.
I guess my question was, this is good to know. My question was more so about, I know you can go and either request them to come to your neighborhood, or I can't remember if it's request to come or not come.
It's generally opt out.
Okay.
So they say we're gonna spray between these dates and these windows, and you have to go and opt out your property.
Do we get any like rates or anything from the state of like whether okay?
No.
Just be interested.
I think it would actually. I don't think it's a real. I mean, the amount of material that they're spraying from the helicopter.
Sure.
I think the flying the helicopter is what costs the money. You know.
Sure.
So, yeah. But it's definitely something to look at, and our intention is to get an opinion from the Board of Health and the Health Alliance. Bring that to the select board and then make a decision there.
I think it's a wise thing to discuss.
Yeah, it is a public health concern as well, so I want to make sure we have those folks take a look at it.
I did not know the piece that they will come in if you have an outbreak, and an outbreak is one case, right? Likely.
Yeah, I don't know what the threshold is for that, but I would assume so, given what we've seen in the past, that you have one triple E and everybody gets ramped up. So
For good reason.
yes, for good reason. Yeah, that wasn't a slight on triple E. It's a bad thing. I agree.
So, like, for that, is that something that we would want to consider, like, recommending to the select board, that they consider putting that on the warrant?
We certainly could. I'm not opposed to it.
If I were to give you some advice, I would wait till the Board of Health tells
Yeah,
you whether
that-
or not
that
you
was-
should stay in it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
That's also very fair advice.
I see it.
Oh, Mark, please.
Evan beat me to it. I would wait for the Board of Health to make a recommendation before you do anything.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Any additional questions on?
There was some discussion of withdrawing from the CPA. Have we done any further investigation into what our financial obligations would continue to be if we did that at this point?
That is ongoing. We don't have a follow up really from the select board on whether or not they're going to actually pursue it. So we've done some calculations and some research into it, and have reached out to the folks at CPA, but all kind of 35,000 foot at this point.
Okay.
This might be more of a Paul question, and I just don't recall. Apologies. The MS4 stormwater compliance, is that recurring annually in perpetuity, or at some point do we pay that compliance off?
So yeah, it's pretty much going to be in perpetuity because there was an original proposal that this was a 10-year process, but I Mark, do you have a different take on that? I don't think it'll ever go away.
No, you have to. It won't go away, Evan.
Right.
You're 100% correct. But I'm going to reiterate something I've been saying for the last 7 years. I've been on the finance committee. I would really like to think about setting up an enterprise fund for the MS4, a stormwater fee to the residents. It's similar to what you did with the trash fees.
Yep.
But it's a way to take that out of the operating budget and pass and deal with it that way, so that you're not worrying about funding that every year. You're required to do it. You'll get fined by the federal government and the state government if you don't comply with the MS4 permit. You have to do it. So putting it outside as an enterprise might be something to consider. So I'll just reiterate something I've been saying for the last 7 years. It is something to think about.
What would the funding source of that enterprise fund be?
As an enterprise, individual properties would get a bill each year. You'd set a fee. In Groton, we set the fee at $60 a property. We collect over $260,000 a year, and that covers all of our stormwater fees. And we don't have to, it does not affect the operating budget. Otherwise, you got to come up with it in the operating budget. So it is a way to free up some money in the operating budget and pay for that service without having to make other reductions in the budget. You have to do the MS4 permit. You have no choice. So it's just a way of taking it out of the operating budget and setting it up as an enterprise fund. Something to think about.
I mean, that's about 1/10 of this year's shortfall. I mean, I know we couldn't do it for this year, but it's a significant.
You can absolutely do it for this year.
Oh, we are doing it this year. We're pulling it out of the
Create, no,
operating
what I'm
budget.
saying is you create the stormwater enterprise fund at the Springtown meeting, send out the bills in September, October, and it pays for it in fiscal year 27, and it frees that money up in the operating budget.
So it's another bill that residents will have to get in the mail and pay, and it's the same for every property?
It depends. You can set it up. There's different ways to do it. In Groton, we just do every improved property that has impervious services gets a bill. Impervious surfaces gets a bill. There are some communities that do it based on square footage and all sorts of stuff, which is really complicated. But you can set up the fee any way you want. And yeah, it is another bill, but with the lack of the interest of going for an override, you got to come up with every single opportunity that you come up with to balance the budget and save positions and save services. This is a way to take that cost out of the operating budget and come up with different ways to fund it. That's all.
So in kind of the short term, I'm thinking keeping it in, the capital plan using like one-time funds is not ideal, but in the context of asking people to vote to increase their own taxes, adding this onto that probably would just hurt a little bit more. So
Yeah, I imagine
Fair
there'd
point.
be a lot of objection to having another bill.
Another bill.
We're already moving trash out, so.
especially if it's considered acceptable to use one-time funds for it.
What would you do with that $150,000 in your capital plan if you did not have to put it towards the MS4?
I mean, there's a host of things we could be doing probably from a facility standpoint, but as far as what was requested in fiscal 27, nothing.
Okay.
We would just be rolling that forward to another fiscal year.
So there was nothing significant in 27 that we are not.
Nope, correct. I mean, there's a million other things we can do.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I know there's some big projects looming
Right,
too.
right.
Right.
Yep.
But the turf field has been one of those big
Yeah.
projects, and there is another one. So
Yeah. And the superintendent's been talking to me about the turf field for 5 years.
Right.
And this seems like a good opportunity to do that.
I believe it was how many 15 years of its 10-year life now or something.
Yes, it's
Like
it's over its original life expectancy.
Angelina, your hand is up. Sorry, I'll take public comment in just a minute.
Yep, I'm
Brutal.
really having a hard time with these cuts, but I'm really happy to see capital getting some attention this year. I feel like putting off these capital projects that need to be done only costs the town more money in the long run. So I'm really, really very excited to see a bunch of free cash going to some capital projects that badly need to be addressed. Back to Greg's question about the CPA funds. Evan, what do you need? When Andy said that at the select board meeting, I really thought that was something that needs to be seriously looked at because it is, 1.5% is a good chunk of money. And, talking about priorities as a town, I think we need to give people the opportunity to say, what things are nice to haves and what things are things that we must fund and make a priority. So what do you need in order to further like look into that to see if that's even an option for us? You need direction from the select board, or
Yeah.
like what do we need to do to get
Yeah.
you to the point where you can?
Well, I would need direction from the select board to actually start, moving in that direction. So, we've had conversations about, again, that like 35,000 foot. How does this even happen? Can you do it? You can adjust that assessment number as well. It doesn't have to stay at the 1.5. You could lower it to 1. However, the board didn't come to any consensus on that, so I'm gonna move forward with the model that I have unless.
And somehow
Something else
Westboro
changes.
just entered at 0.5%,
Yeah,
even
I-
though the minimum is 1.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very odd.
What is the process, Evan, to get out of the CPA if we wanted to get out of it? Is it a town meeting vote
Yes.
and a ballot vote?
It is a town meeting vote. I don't
think there's.
think it's a ballot component to it.
There's a ballot to get
So
in.
it's just a vote at the town
I
meeting?
think so. I can, Mark, let me double check. I have all of it written. I did not prep ahead of this.
I think the biggest obstacle has been having to continue to fund the projects that have already been approved. So if the obligations are significant, we will have to continue to assess that until they're gone. But there's some contradictory language in a couple places about
Couldn't we use one-time funds for that?
It does require a ballot
It does.
finish.
It does require a ballot.
Yes,
So,
it does.
so the select board would have to agree to do it regardless of what happens because they're the only ones that can put a question on the ballot for even CPA overrides, whatever. It stays in the hands of the select board, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have another? I mean, Greg just mentioned it, but within the next 5 years of the capital plan, do we have another turf field replacement looming?
Yes, but I don't know when it is. I don't have that in the full capital plan at this time.
Is there any thought to doing them both at once and trying to say? I feel like I've been doing the same thing, but can we group them and find savings?
So let's defer that question to when superintendent is here.
Okay.
And I don't want to speak too much to his facilities or facilities plan.
Yep.
I would assume there's some savings there, but I don't know condition wise what his thoughts are.
I know it's a pretty penny, but if we do pursue the MS4 thing, which it sounds like we're not, but if we did put that back in the capital plan, that could go towards something like that and find savings down the road. Maybe I'm big picture thinking, blue sky thinking right now.
No, I mean I think it's a valid thought. We'd have to move some stuff around in this
Yep.
capital plan. If we can't get a loader, we'll just say, Kyle said no loader, guys. This is what it is.
It'll be real popular over there. Thanks.
Hope you don't like snow plowing.
That's it.
Yes.
when all the snow ends up for my driveway, I'll know why.
We are looking for places to stack snow right now. So
Don't know.
So it is a public hearing, so I think bring in some public comment.
Sure, I was gonna ask if anyone else had any questions before.
Not yet. I reserve the right to ask more questions later.
I,
So.
right, reserve. All right. To Greg's point, it is public hearing, so I will take public comment.
Michael Rock, 8 Trinity Ave. My question is mostly one of logistics. Could MS4 be folded into a slightly expanded sewer enterprise fund, or is the logistics of changing the sewer enterprise fund nightmarish?
I do not believe that MS4 is allowable in the sewer enterprise, unless Mark has a different recollection, but I don't believe it is.
I agree with you 100%, Evan.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Nice-
imagine that would
Nice thought, though.
also not be equitable because not everybody has sewer.
Yeah, that's true too.
So I mean, you could rolling it into one account for bookkeeping purposes doesn't save us anything. So
Yeah.
it would all be how the
Yep.
money comes in.
Yep.
Please.
Good evening. As it is a public hearing, I will state my name and address. Roger Trahan, 4 Old Upton Road. First, as a citizen resident, regarding the MS4, that's different than the loan we have out for phosphorus remediation, right? That was a town warrant.
Correct.
And when does that end? That's on the sewer, correct?
Sewer. Yep. I can get you that. I don't remember that top of mind when that rolled off.
All right. I know that was a big chunk. I think it was like 20 to 25 mil
Yep.
overall, but
Correct.
okay. And now putting on my accessibility advisory chair hat. So I'm putting the finishing touches on the agenda and meeting packet for our meeting next Tuesday night. And one of the placeholders I've had approaching town meeting in prior years is like warrant articles, just miscellaneous stuff that may come up. Oftentimes it's been CPC stuff where we weigh in and endorse projects. And there'll be a letter and maybe me or someone else will speak on town meeting floor in favor of something. So I plan on having just a generic placeholder for Tuesday that kind of speaks of town budgets, CPC, and town meeting warrant articles to include some of what we're talking about tonight. And I'll use one example of Silver Lake, and I can't speak on behalf of the commission, but I'm sure that there won't be some favorable feedback. With respect to Silver Lake, we actually took a proactive approach that even though it's kind of looked upon as this inanimate object, lakeside, it was actually a real thoughtful approach to accessibility, where we put the whole sidewalk back there that then leads to the beach. We added 2 accessible spaces on the higher end of the land. And then we put all 2 sets of mats, I think it's 2 sets, all the way down on top of the sand to be accessible for folks with mobility issues and or in wheelchairs. So I just want to mention that if there's any pushback you're going to get either from the public or the Accessibility Advisory Commission, I think it's going to be that one. And so we'll be discussing that on Tuesday. I'll be posting the agenda and meeting packet tomorrow. So I usually go on All Things Grafton and let the public know how they can tune in. It's all via Zoom. So the other thing is that along the lines of your budget meeting, I think I'm a little bit ahead of myself on your agenda. But as far as all of you will be meeting with department heads. And one of the things I would invite is, and in the context of my comments regarding Silver Lake, that's like rec department, that each of you kind of approach things with an accessibility lens and discuss with those department heads if there is a reduction budget that they're talking about, what impacts there may be as far as services or supports, and to let me know or the commission know. All right, so accessibility at grafton-ma.gov is a commission web email address. My personal phone number, if anyone wants to take it down, is 508-335-0507. Ideally, just so the whole commission knows, if there is any communication either through that direct email address or through me, I will approach the commission and look upon that as like new correspondence at the top of our meeting between now and town meeting. And then the other thing is, and I think this is a question for Evan, I know that there's the municipal ADA evaluation that we've been chipping away with since 2019.
Sure.
And more recently, the school ADA eval, I think in 2022. So looking at those combined, is the plan to kind of put things on hold a little and wait for the facilities advisory or facilities assessment committee to do all of their work so we don't have to do rework and then take it all at once? Is that the plan, to approach some of the ADA things so we don't have to do rework?
Not really, because the facilities committee isn't predominantly looking at any of those issues.
Okay.
They're looking at roofs, mechanical infrastructure, general maintenance of the building.
Okay.
I think that most of the things that we have left, or the even the things that we've addressed are well outside of their scope.
Right.
But for example, when they did the walkthrough of this building, they noted that we have the crumbling ramp out
Right.
to the senior center.
Right.
We've already received a grant for that and some funding, and we're already planning to.
I think it was what, 75
It
grand?
was 75
All right.
grand, yeah.
Yeah, and kudos. I know that Evan and William and others, and like Tracy Sharkey, were working hard behind the scenes. There's the Mass Office on Disabilities, Mass Office on Disability annual municipal grant opportunities that, you know, cities and towns fight for a small amount of funding for these things. So it's really good when we can get those grants and take that out of the municipal budget. So.
Yeah, we're also waiting on designs for this building for 3 more customer service windows
Right.
that kind of eliminates most of our accessibility challenges to having
Right.
just the old school doorways that aren't wide enough for
Right.
people to get into.
Yep.
So we're those things I think are far enough away from what the facilities committee is looking
Okay.
at that I think we're safe.
Okay, I didn't know how that was being approached as far as, because some of them are actually small items, like really low hanging fruit
Right.
that can be part of operational or routine maintenance, and other ones are probably, like, let's say all the school district doorknobs. We're talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, all right, so I guess I'll leave it to you to continue looking at that eval. I know that this building was the priority, and then the school. I guess I'll speak with Jay and the school committee about that, and then lastly, and I guess maybe related, but I'll put my resident hat back on, and I may be ahead of myself. Your draft 2025 report for the town report speaks of having taxed to 98.9% of the full levy limit. So is that we left levy capacity on the table? It's it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down on page 2.
Yeah, I think like my guess would be new growth came in higher than expected
Okay.
after the budget was approved.
So I remember about 5 or 6 years ago, I'm guessing, but that's my recollection, where that happened once. And I think in fall town meeting, I think we raised and appropriated from taxation an amount to directly go into, I think, stabilization in the same warrant article.
Mm-hmm.
Did we do that here?
No, but it just closes to free cash, so there's no need to.
So we didn't leave anything on the table? Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
We're the government. We leave nothing on the table.
Right. So you don't need to actually, so what happened to the 1.1%? We didn't,
So if you look at what we closed for free cash, it was higher than Grafton's ever had. So it's a
Right.
combination of our new growth came in better than expected. We got some really large one-time building permit fees. Right, these are all revenues that we didn't anticipate having.
okay.
So they closed to free cash, which we then use to fund our capital plan.
Okay. All right. Okay. I didn't know how exactly that worked. On paper, it kind of looked like we left levy capacity on the table. Okay.
It's a great call out, though.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Roger. And I also absolutely hear the statement about, any sort of cuts to level funding leave the vulnerable population even more vulnerable, and the onus is on us to ensure that we're asking the right questions to make sure that things like accessibility are not left off of the table, either by accident or whatever. So absolutely heard, and that's something that we'll be very conscious about during those conversations, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we want to bring in the person on Zoom first? 'Cause they've been there for.
Madam Chair, if I may, I have to run very shortly to an errand. If you could indulge me, that would be great.
Sure, Peter, please. And then we'll move to Zoom after this, I promise.
Thank you to the Zoom people for holding on. Appreciate you. Good evening. My name is Peter Carlson. I live at 42 Old Upton Road. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight at your first public hearing for the FY. 27 operating capital presentation by the town administrator. Again, great job, Evan. Again, always your presentations and your explanations are spot on. As a resident, I do have just some concerns with regards to some of the staffing cuts, and I just want to make those known to you as a resident, that the part-time field inspector is somebody who serves the public good. So for those people who have projects or building projects at their homes, these are one of the services that I believe are being proposed as a cut to balance the budget for FY27. These are, again, this and the assistant engineer position who oversees a large portion of our capital improvement for roadways in Grafton, in addition to other things that are all roadways in Grafton. And something that we fought tooth and nail for back in 2014 was putting together a stabilization fund to improve these roads where there was very little from the state. These two positions, I know you have to look at all areas of the budget, but I would highly recommend cuts be looked at elsewhere. And the reason for that is that both of these positions do service a good for the town. So I just wanted the people to know who are listening, who tune in, that from a part-time building inspector, that's the person who's going to come out and inspect your stairs that you just replaced in front of your home. If you don't have that, that could take forever to get full occupancy and so on and so forth. Again, one of the other questions I have is we're calling it the lease payment, Evan. I understand that, but
Yes.
for Engine 1, if we could just have a description in the report that shows where are we with the aging report in terms of how far along we are, because we know that these apparatuses cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know we're paying down 200,000, but are we in year 2? Are we in year 3 out of a 5-year plan?
Yeah.
It's really good for people like myself who don't always pay attention anymore to these things to just have a constant reminder. In addition to that, I really do think we should consider looking at the CPA, the minimal percentage return that we get. We have a robust capital plan. We never had that before. We fought tooth and nail in 2014 to put road stabilization capital plans in there. We fought tooth and nail in 2020 for that override to put in a capital stabilization plan. I believe Grafton is farther ahead than most other communities in here, and that's to our benefit. I do believe that 1.5% from the CPA fund could be put back into other things, and those things could be decided again at town meeting, just like we do with CPA funds. It's really just taking a pot of money, and hopefully if override does get put on the ballot this year, although I was told the other night that that is a possibility, but again, I don't like to base my options on hope. It's not a good sound financial strategy. I think Evan has heard me say that many times before, and I apologize if I'm burning your ear.
Deja vu.
It is. Last but not least is the MS4 stormwater priority. And I understand like we need to find a pot of money. And I know like times are tough and we're looking under every single rock. I would consider moving that back into the operational expense line item. As you heard earlier, I think there was a question asked like, why aren't we use free cash to offset our operational expense? I kind of look at that as an operational expense, and I have a strong opinion about utilizing one-time monies based out of free cash to offset that. Now, I understand it's important. It's a pot of money that we do, and if there's no other choice, I get that. But I do think it's worth another consideration in lobbying to look at moving it someplace back into the expense line item. Last thing I want to leave you with, I love spreadsheets. I absolutely love spreadsheets. The only thing I ask is could you put some commas in here so I can delineate a little bit easier on the numbers. That is all I have. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate all the work that you guys do. Thank you.
So if I could just make one comment there. CPA elimination would not affect the operations budget, but it would lower the taxes of the residents to offset any other raises, because that is added on top of the tax bill, and that money goes only into the CPA. There's no other way to put that anywhere else. Just clarification.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you
Really
very
appreciate
much.
it.
Yep.
Okay, we do have a hand on Zoom, and they've been very, very patient. So
Well, I think I'm the host now, so I
Yep.
think I gotta deal with that.
appreciate the patience.
Just stand by for 1 second.
Okay, you just need to unmute yourself.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Carl Bill Green. I live at 111 Marion Road. For those who know Grafton, it's a former Lazy Acres fruit stand, and it's so relatively newcomer to Grafton. Love it here, and this is my first finance committee meeting. The question I've got is about your the reductions that are proposed. They were clearly itemized and very lucid, but they only made up 1/3 of the total reduction. 2/3 looks to be coming from elimination of 13 full-time positions at the school. My question is, how do we square that with the very first slide that you showed that talked about, one of the three missions of this town is to keep our schools competitive?
Okay, so I guess that's me.
Well, I think perhaps we could start with sort of the rationale that you've given in the recent past about how you and Jay came to the conclusion of the breakdown of the
Right.
revisions.
So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing inherently equitable about trying to find these cuts. So this is a conversation between the superintendent and myself, back and forth, trying to work on where these pressure points are in the budget and where we can find some savings. So one of the things that becomes apparent right away is that the schools have the lion's share of the staff, and the town looking at cuts has a disproportionate impact. And when I say that, it's not because I don't value education. It's because we have a lot of departments that have 2 people in them. So you get rid of, I have departments with 1 person in them. So you get rid of 1 person and that department is no longer available for the public. That said, we cut about 600,000, and the schools cut around $1 million. That's not far off of where the breakdown is from where the budget split happens. And in my conversations with the superintendent, shifting 50,000, 100,000 doesn't move much on the school sides because the way that their staffing structure is, because of their collective bargaining agreements, they have to lay off due to seniority. They have to move positions around. It just didn't bear fruit to move some of that stuff around. And just while we're on the topic of the cuts, if I could elaborate just a little bit, because I've heard from a number of people that we shouldn't cut here, we shouldn't cut there. None of these are good cuts, right? There's an impact to everyone in some way, but there aren't other places to go. There's no capacity for cuts in the Council on Aging. All of our departments here are 2-3 people. The largest department we have in this building has 4 people, and that is our tax collector's office and treasurer's office, who do very important work that actually collect those funds that we use to pay all of these for all these services. So there's not one in this list that I thought to myself, though, this is a good opportunity to make a cut. We did that last year, right? We reduced by 600,000 last year. We've already done all of that exercise. So now we're on to people that do have a public impact. And the reason I selected the part-time field inspector and the planning conservation admin are because those were the last 2 positions added. Honestly, there's not a lot deeper in that, and they were both added because we needed them. So none of these cuts are going to be without some kind of sacrifice. Otherwise, we would have done them in previous years. So I hope I answered the question about the schools. This is a joint budget that we've created with the superintendent and the school department. They would love to have more money. We don't have it, so that's where we're at.
Very good. I appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Angelina, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from people, what I heard from the few people at the select board meeting and then people online, and I'm trying to kind of get a sense of what people are saying online without getting too depressed about it. So it's like walking a fine line. But what I'm hearing a lot of is that there's this impression on the side of people who think that, you know, there's a lot of fat in our budget. I saw someone today said that, you know, at the end of the year, departments are scrambling to spend their money because they know that they're going to lose it if they don't spend it. And all of this is just based on, I think, just a general just not trusting government, which sure, and just a general sense of like, you know, this is what happens, that town governments are just bloated and there's all this extra. And I think that the thing that's different about Grafton, and after being on this committee for 4 or 5 years, is that we are administratively very lean as a town. Like in the school department, we don't have layers and layers of administration. When you look at other towns, there are towns that have layers of administration. Like we have what, 2 curriculum coordinators, or are we down to 1 at this point for the entire school district? Like Jay doesn't have an assistant superintendent. I mean, it's just, we're so lean that all of these cuts are going to be painful for the people in the town. You're going to feel them. You're going to feel them whether it's because, you know, your kid's got 27 kids in their classroom, or it's because you're not getting your permits on time because we don't have the capacity to do the things that like we need to function properly. So I'm not sure where I'm going with this. I'm just generally frustrated, I think, with the impression that, you know, we're bloated and that the government is overspending, and that's why we're in this situation. Prop 2.5 came out, what, 40 years ago, and it's an arbitrary 2.5% that we're allowed to go up by. That is probably something that needs to change because, like us, many other communities are in the same exact position. 2.5% is not enough. And to look at that 2.5% as you're overspending if you need to go over the 2.5% is just like I mean, the two things just aren't related necessarily. They're not this, one doesn't mean the other. So I just think that there's this general lack of real understanding of how the budget works and how our budgets are structured. And I hope that people engage and come to meetings and actually look at the budget line by line, because we do. So I hope that people do as well.
Thanks, Angelina. Kyle.
Off my soapbox, sorry.
No, we appreciate the soapbox. Kyle, please.
No, I'll keep mine a little bit brief just because I basically I'm going to say very similar things what Angelina said. But I mean, I get it. I'm a little bit maybe weirdly encouraged by all the discussion online. I think people really care about their town and where the money is going and how we're spending it. Obviously, I think some conversation is a little more productive, but it's complicated. There's a lot of rules and hidden, you know, restrictions on certain monies that we can't allocate how we want to, or how it may make obvious sense. I think, you know, to the point of the budgets being bloated, yes, they're very lean. We spent, and you know, we've known this is coming. We know the structural deficit has existed. This is not new news to us. You know, we've 2 years ago, we cut a department out of the municipal side of the budget in preparation for this, to try to, you know, see what we could do to get by and minimize the loss of services and to the town, to the people. You know, I understand that the distrust in government. The good thing is all these meetings are recorded. They're all online for you to review. If they get there long, then we probably won't want to do that. But the commitment is there. You can see it all. And I guess I would encourage people to, you know, continue asking questions, you to learn more. But also, you know, I think I'd be encouraged if I was on the other end, that there are answers to all these questions. It's not just we don't know. It's not you know, people aren't getting responses. It's no, there's an exact reason as to why this can't happen, or why this is this way, or why we're facing this now. So I guess encourage people to listen.
Yeah, I appreciate that. To that point, this is probably one of the better attended finance committees we've had in quite some time, and there are 5 people now. We're 6 people here in person, and At top, we had about 20, I believe 9 attendees, down to 15 at this point. That's not a very high percentage of the voting population, but public comment is still open, and we did have a hand, so I please encourage.
I think you also have a hand on Zoom when you're ready.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
that's smart.
Yes.
Colleen Roy, 53 Elmwood Street. This is maybe a nerdy question, but when we're getting our bond review this summer,
Yeah.
what, if any, impact will going into our second year of cuts, substantially bigger cuts, have on our bond rating, and or would passing a third override have any positive or negative impacts?
I don't think in the current economic climate that having a third override impacts your bond rating in any way. I think they're really looking to see that you haven't defaulted, you haven't been in deficit, you haven't had to, make mid-year cuts.
Okay.
So us strategically making these cuts now, I don't think are going to impact our bond rating.
So we wouldn't have potential insult to injury of cuts and then paying more for bonds? if
No,
our rating
I
went down?
don't think so. Thinking back on all the different bond calls I've done and different ratings reviews that I've done, they're all around kind of that unplanned emergency, you didn't do this right kind of cut.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colleen. All right, Mark, thank you for your patience.
Oh, no, you don't need to thank me. I'm here for the night. I have a brief statement. I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I didn't fumble what I'm going to say. So if you bear with me, it's very brief, but it's very clear to me that the Finance Committee has been excluded from any discussion relative to this year's budget. I find it troubling that the committee charged with reviewing and making recommendations on all issues before town meeting has been excluded from the process by the Select Board. A majority of board members are requesting more information and guidance, and the FinCom is here to provide that guidance and leadership. Given the fact that any decision, whether it be an override question or a vote to leave the CPA, rests with the Select Board, I believe it's important for the Finance Committee to provide a strong recommendation in person to the Select Board. I would strongly recommend that we request a meeting with them as soon as possible. If you think I should make a motion to that effect, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We did reach out and had asked to have a TRICOM full meeting with the Select Board.
That was a month ago, right?
That's right.
And have they invited us?
No.
That's my statement.
No, I not disagreeing. Rather agreeing. I did attempt to sort of tag along on the January 27th meeting that ended up not occurring. Right, that meeting was going to be joint between the school and Select Board, but unfortunately did not occur. But no, we have not been invited. I'm perfectly happy to entertain said motion to have that conversation with the Select Board, Mark.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Can we repeat what the exact motion was again?
It's a motion to request a meeting immediately with the Select Board to allow the Finance Committee to make recommendations relative to this year's budget and ways to address the shortfall.
Okay, thanks.
I have a motion, a second. Do I have any conversation, any discussion on the motion? No, hearing none. I will by roll call take the vote. Mark?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Oh, did we lose Heather?
Nope, I'm here. Sorry, I was trying to unmute and I didn't know how to unmute. So aye.
Thank you. Dan?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Samir?
Aye.
Victoria also says aye. All right. So I will once more reach out and attempt to get availability. We can put that in a letter as well, Mark, and put that into correspondence. I think
Thank you.
that
Thank you,
makes
Victoria.
sense as well. Of course. I agree, and I'm glad that you did that. Thank you for bringing that up. Any additional questions, comments for Evan, either here or our audience, either on Zoom? I see no additional hands. Greg?
So, to follow up a little bit on a previous comment, we were talking about Proposition 2.5 and how we got here. I spent a significant amount of time after the meeting on Tuesday talking to a resident who had been here, participated in the meeting, and he came up to me because he wasn't sure how Proposition 2.5 and this whole reduction and override process worked. So I gave him a bit of an explanation for it. We talked for quite some time. I think the custodian was ready for us to leave the building so we could lock up. So some of the things we talked about was Proposition 2.5 was started in 1980 and 46 years ago now. And they, at that point, picked a number for each town, which is, okay, this is your current levy limit. This is the limit beyond which you cannot tax your residents without getting their approval. So that limit increases by 2.5%, plus new growth, which is increases in value of houses and property due to construction and renovation and things like that. And that gives us a ceiling beyond which we cannot tax people without their consent. It lays out a very particular method of getting their consent for that, which is an override. And that says you are allowed to permanently raise that ceiling, and permanently raise the ceiling meaning all future contribution ceiling numbers go from that point working forward. So that is completely separate from this year's budget. So that the override, if it were to pass, would set a new ceiling. We've done that twice before. The first time we raised our ceiling by $2.5 million. The second time we raised our ceiling by $3.2 million. We did not use it all in 1 year. We planned to use it for 5 years. We used it for 6 years. People talk about a 5-year override. Really what that means is we plan to make that increase last 5 years. It really there's no official meaning to that other than this is what we plan to do with it. Now, we don't have to spend to the levy limit. So there was a comment earlier about leaving money on the table. Yes, we leave money on the table under the levy limit all the time. That is because we as a town, the legislative branch of the town at town meeting decided we didn't want to spend all the way to the levy limit because we were fiscally responsible in making our budgets. We didn't say, oh, we just raised our limit by $2.5 million. We're going to spend that $2.5 million right away. We used it over time to gradually absorb the increasing costs of our budget. One of the main reasons we have this increasing cost of our budget is things out of our control, healthcare, largely transportation, special education, and the fact that our state aid increases very, very slowly. I've made graphs of what our expenditure and our state aid looks like. The state aid is mostly flat, and the graph goes up significantly. So we have a significant issue with the funding formula that has 270 of 319 school districts where the formula says you get enough money from the state, we don't need to give you any more money this year, but just to be nice, we're going to give you $75 per student that was enrolled in your school as of October 1st, and that is your increased aid for the year. For us, that's $222,000, and that is nowhere near enough to close a $1.5 million budget gap. I'm glad to see people reaching out and talking. If you have questions, if you don't understand what it is, reach out to us and ask. We will be happy to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Very, very well put. Additional thoughts, questions? Okay.
I have one aside.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Oh yeah, go ahead, close your public hearing. Thank you, sorry.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Angelina,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Samir,
Aye.
Victoria, aye. That motion passes unanimously. The public hearing's closed. Thank you. Yes, Evan, please.
Just as an aside, if anyone's interested in a great book that involves Prop 2.5, there's a book called Burn, Boston, Burn. It's about an arson ring in the early 1980s. So when Prop 2.5 was passed, a group of 9 police officers and firefighters and fire buffs lit Boston on fire like 260 times to try to drive up the calls so that firefighters would be brought back in. It's fascinating history.
Wow.
If you're interested, check it out.
Not
Don't-
we're not
Don't
we're
give
not
people ideas.
planting seeds. We're not planting seeds.
No, I'm not planting seeds. I'm just saying this is what
No,
they
no,
did
that's
in the
awesome.
1980s.
No.
It's pretty wild.
No, that sounds
Written by the ATF officer that closed the case. So,
Incredible.
awesome.
Thank you for that aside. That was
That's
yeah,
the kind of
a
history
great
we like.
build.
that's the side you like? Okay.
Yeah.
I got plenty more. So
Okay, so next up on our agenda is to review the list of departments to go speak to. In our packet, we have last year's list, or it might actually be the year before.
It says that.
Yeah,
That's last year.
It has Nick on it.
But it has Nick on it,
Oh,
so that's why I
okay.
think it's old.
Well, Nick was here last
Oh,
year.
Nick was still in
Yeah.
this time last year.
Nick was still here last
He
year.
would,
Oh,
yeah.
you're right. It was.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Samir, this will be your
Yes.
first time.
Yep.
This is fun.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I suggest with just the amount of not scrutiny, the closest we want to keep to the budgets, that we keep our committee assignments the same since we've worked on them for the past couple of years.
I agree with that.
Know them, the budgets very well, and can continue to be the check that we need to be for those budgets. And then have Samir join and fill in where Nick was.
I think that's a very, very reasonable, prudent, and wise suggestion, and I agree with it. Any disagreement?
The
Nope.
only thought was we have, well, let's say we have a lot of people on DPW. Well, and I had previously been interested in schools, but since my wife was on the school committee, I chose not to participate in that. So I'd be interested in joining that discussion.
I don't think Jay would mind, Victoria, if we brought 4 of us to sit down with him.
I think that he might, he would enjoy that greatly.
Yeah. So I think Greg should definitely join the school with me, you, and Angelina.
I love that suggestion.
And Greg, I think we can handle. Or if Samir wants to join, or we can handle.
And you handled it without me last time because I
Yes.
was not able to make
That's
that,
right.
whatever date that was, so.
Yep.
But if 5 people attend, then it's a quorum.
That's right. It's got to
That's
stay
correct.
4 under.
Yes, you're
No,
absolutely right.
no surprise drop-ins for something where there's 4 expected.
No, got it. I was gonna ask that, like,
Mm-hmm.
if I am interested in any other one, but we want to avoid the quorum. Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, if you were interested in DPW, and they'll give you a tour of whatever facility they have it in, so.
Yeah, I was
Always a
gonna,
nice.
I was gonna say we should ask if Samir has anything he's particularly interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I would send them a DPW one. I don't think I think that'd be good. And I am interested in schools, but I don't want to be the 5th person there. So I will trust my fellow colleagues to get that done. But no, I think overall, I'm happy to step in where Nick was. Get my laying of the land.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your flexibility. Greg, I'll ensure that I reach out to you for the school piece. Okay. So I'll take responsibility for in the areas that my name appears. I will reach out to the department head and set up time and coordinate. But
Can I take care of reaching out to Jay and set up that meeting, please?
Sure, please go for it. I do know that Jay is interested in having that meeting sooner rather than later.
I understand that.
Great. Okay, perfect. Next item on the agenda is to review the 2025 annual report. Amber, thank you very much for putting this together. Did anyone have any thoughts, comments, adjustments?
I'd make a motion, we approve the annual report as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Samir?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. That motion passes unanimously. Again, thank you very much, Amber. We so appreciate your diligence here. Moving right along, meeting minutes.
I move
Move
we
to approve
accept
the minutes. Oh, you beat me, Greg.
December 10th as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Any adjustments? No? All right. Great. Mark?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Samir?
Aye.
Victoria is aye. That motion passes unanimously. This meeting minutes are set. All right, so let's schedule the upcoming finance committee meetings. So we do have the motion to ask to have a meeting as soon as possible with the select board. So I will start working on that again immediately. But in the interim, we still do need to set up our meetings for review and Saturday. We usually have the 2-dayer that we set aside, right? Or we've been getting
We
it done.
typically do that Saturday and then the Wednesday before and the Wednesday after. So probably Wednesday the 11th, Saturday the 14th, and Wednesday the 18th.
Does that work for everyone?
I am
Yep.
out of the country on the 11th. I might be able to do it remotely, but we can get by without me.
I cannot do the 11th, unfortunately.
I think March?
Yes,
Oh,
March.
okay.
March. Sorry.
Yes.
You're like, this seems fast. Yes, March.
Do we want to consider Thursday?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about the 12th?
12th works for me.
I am out Tuesday to Friday, so don't.
Okay.
Affordable housing is on the 12th, but we could move that to the 5th. Brian, do you happen to know if ZBA has anything on March 5th?
We don't have anything for March yet.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that means it could come up. So, well, we'll see. We'll work it out.
Okay.
Let's do the 12th.
So let's do the 12th and the 14th for sure.
So I think we have charter review, Mark, on the
Yes.
12th.
Yeah, we meet the 12th of the third or second Thursday. So I was just about to say I'm not available on the 12th.
So that's
I don't think that means Angelina, you're not available on the 12th.
Right, and Greg as well.
And Greg's not available on the
So
12th.
then move it. I guess
Gonna be gone
at
anyway.
least be not there.
And
the
Skip's
11th.
not available on the
People.
12th.
yeah.
fine.
Then I think the 11th they'll have to do, and then poor Kyle will be the odd man out.
That's all right.
Okay, so back to the 11th it is.
I will try to join those remotely.
Thank you.
So it's
I mean, if you'd like to do the 18th and 19th following week instead, that's also
Is
an
there a reason-
option.
Is there a reason we like to have one before the Saturday meeting, one after? Is there anything we set up really?
No, we've just always done it that way because we do
BBT.
school department one night and then
Yeah.
BBT the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that week, but for me it works much better at least. But
Greg, you'll be back the 18th and 19th,
yep.
and we should move it.
Yeah.
So if we do the 18th and the 25th with
I think we were saying
Oh, I was gonna say 18th and 19th,
Oh,
so
okay.
you can do two 2 weeknights and a Saturday.
Sure. So 14th, 18th, and 19th?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds good.
February or March?
March.
And then we usually start at what, like 10 a.m. March 14th, 9 a.m. March 14th.
We've started at 8:30 in the past.
Beautiful. Love it.
Paul likes to get
But
here.
we've also we've been done pretty early too. So if you want to
I'm
move that start time,
I'm a morning person, so
I'm ready to start at 6 a.m. if the rest
all
of you
right,
are.
Mark.
I'm
Speaking my language.
I'm gonna go ahead and veto that 8:30, though I can haul myself here for.
We also used to get lunch, and we also used to have like 3 Saturdays, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
that was
why
ridiculous. I'm glad
why
we've
did
cut
it
it
take
back
so long
to
back
that
then?
one Saturday for 3 hours.
It's because I wasn't here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
we know
cool with
the
8:30.
budget's pretty well right
We've made
now,
it
and
a
we can
lot-
get right
I
to the
think we've
crux of
streamlined
it.
a lot of things since we started.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't want to be here 3 Saturdays. I like you guys, but
It's a lot.
Yeah, Evan, it was ridiculous that we did 3 Saturdays.
yeah,
It
my
was such a waste.
first year here, I was like, this is a lot.
So what'll do us? So we'll do the
Yeah.
14th, the 18th, and the 19th. Okay. And in the interim, of course, we'll be meeting with our individual assignments, and we will sneak in a meeting with the select board as well. I'll make that happen.
And the 18th, 9th, they're obviously subject to our guests being available as well.
This is always a very good point. Yes.
I do think that recreation will be on the 18th or 19th. Adam let me know that he is running a half marathon Saturday the 14th, which I think is a fine reason to not be
Fair.
in room A with us. But I told him that we could offer him a weeknight instead.
He could run here
can go at the end.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Then.
That's true.
Get up really early.
We'll be happy to speak to Adam on the 18th or 19th then. Okay. That wraps us up for this evening. Thank you again, Evan. Thank you, everyone, for attending in person and for listening in, asking thoughtful questions, and your engagement. We really appreciate it. And this is only one of 3 more public hearings to come, so stay tuned. With that, I will call the meeting to adjourn.
Okay.
And
That's it.
that's it.
Good night.
Night.
Night.